Chapter 20. Chapter 20. Atop a heap of corpses. I sat atop the body of the massive wolf I had just beheaded. My breathing was heavy, though not from exhaustion. I didn't have normal lungs, and my heart barely functioned like a human's. I was just still, processing everything. The ground around me was dark red. The air was thick with the smell of iron, blood, and scorched flesh. Mutant corpses littered the battlefield, some charred, some torn apart, some utterly destroyed. This battlefield had just been hell. I tried to remember how long the fight lasted, but there was no answer. The sky had no clear sun due to the smoke and dust of battle, and I had been too focused on surviving to count the time. 1 hour, maybe 5, perhaps more. All I knew was I was still here, still whole and alive, and all my enemies were dead. I leaned my back against a large wolf, staring ahead blankly. For the first time since I was reincarnated, I felt something akin to fatigue. Not physical, but mental. This battlefield was too intense, too brutal. But I couldn't complain. I wasn't human. I was a zombie. No stamina, muscle fatigue, and panting breath from lack of oxygen. I could keep moving, keep fighting, and keep killing. As long as my body wasn't completely destroyed, I wouldn't stop. And that's why I survived. Ding! The faint sound of the system echoed in my head again. I had heard it several times during the fight, but I hadn't had the time to read all the notifications that popped up. Skill ups, level ups, blood spilled. I kept moving, over and over again. I summoned my status screen for the first time since being thrown into this place. Status. Name: Sylvia Hortensia Race. Noctira. Rank 2. Evolved zombie. Element: Death level 1130. Stats: HP 9,200. 14,000. MP 0. 0. STR 1780. VT 14,000. INT 120. AGI 448. Lucky. Error. Active skills. Infectious bite 820. Razor. Toxic claw 540. Phantom dash 2020. Max. Shadow piercing 140. Moves through shadows at high speed, causing a phasing effect and shadow damage when passing through enemies. Enemies hit will suffer deep wounds and a 30% slow effect. Cooldown 5 seconds. Void steps 3:10. Passive skills: Killing stroke. Med regeneration 20:20. Max. High regeneration 140. Restores 250 HP per second. Toxic affinity: Blood instinct, new. When blood splashes onto your body, your attack power increases by 5% for 10 seconds, can stack up to 5 times. Titles: Reincarnated. First evolution. Second evolution. Blessing from Goddess Persephone. Active quest. Hunt 100. Rank 2. Mutant beasts. Progress 61,100. Reward. Skill. Appraisal. Time remaining 6 days, 14 hours. Only 61? I muttered hoarsely. I thought I had slaughtered more than 100, but maybe some of them weren't rank 2. Some looked weaker, perhaps only rank 1s that got caught up in the bloodbath. Still, I leveled up 10 times. Phantom Dash and Med Regeneration had maxed out and got evolved. A new passive skill? Blood Instinct? I nodded slowly. The effect. It suited me perfectly. I was always drenched in blood, wasn't I? Of course this body would adapt. I really am more monster than anything now. I chuckled softly, bitter and faintly proud. But that pride didn't last long. A high-pitched sound cut through the air. A shadow of massive wings fell over the blood-soaked ground. He had returned. The eagle, the terrifying creature who had thrown me into this place without warning, the silent judge of this massacre. He hovered low, gazing down at me with glowing violet eyes, ominous and deep, like a bottomless abyss. And for some reason, this time I didn't feel like I was looking at an animal. I felt like I was being watched by something godlike. "You're still alive." "Interesting," he said, his heavy voice shaking the air. I didn't answer, because I still can't speak, then just stared back, wary. "You are humanoid, yet not truly alive, and truly dead." The eagle dove slightly and landed on a tall rock, his feathers billowing in the wind of his own creation. "Beings like you are anomalies, but also potential." I narrowed my eyes, but he just looked over the battlefield littered with mutant corpses. "Of all the creatures I've thrown into this arena, few have slain more than 50. None have reached 61. I tilted my head in confusion. Then he spread his wings slightly, like a king about to declare judgment. "Complete this." His voice faded like a whisper on the wind, and he soared high, fast, disappearing into the dark clouds above. I exhaled deeply, my head drooping. Then I laughed, a small, bitter laugh. God, my life's turning into some kind of hellish survival game. I rose to my feet, eyes fixed toward the forest ahead. 40 more mutants to kill, and barely 6 days left for my quest. Maybe I was lucky to fall here. I clenched my hand, feeling the pulse of power within me. It's fine. I'll do it. Because I'm no longer the Sylvia I used to be. I am the monster behind the smile, and blood is just the beginning. Chapter 20. Chapter 21. The Hunter's Smile. My footsteps were calm on the forest ground, now darkened by blood and embers. A faint red mist still hung in the air, a silent witness to the brutal slaughter that had just occurred. Usually the sounds of footsteps or animals would fill this silence. But now? Silence. No bird song, no growls. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. I stood in the middle of the devastation, not as a victim, but as the perpetrator. And for the first time since I was thrown into this place, I felt a shift, not in my body, but in them, the mutants. They were afraid of me. I could feel it. The hulking beasts that once roared and leapt at me without hesitation, now only stared from behind trees, then slowly retreated. Some even ran the moment our eyes met. I grinned. "So now, I'm the one hunting you." My steps changed. No longer steps of survival, but the steps of a predator. I chuckled softly. But to them, the creatures hiding among the trees, that laugh was the sound of the end. I stepped forward. My shadow stretched and merged into the darkness between the trees. Shadow piercing. Swoosh! I shot forward like a spear of darkness, piercing through 3 small, mutant beasts in an instant. Their bodies were flung away, black wounds spreading like burns from the point of impact. I stopped right behind them, They screamed, but only briefly. Next, I whispered. I started chasing the next targets. They were no longer hunting me. I was hunting them. With every step, shadows followed. With every strike, blood sprayed like rain, and my regeneration was insane. At one point, a mutant rhino charged at me and crushed half my left side. But before it could prepare another strike, my arm had already grown back, ripping into its face with razor toxic claw. 250 HP per second. I was like an unkillable monster, and I loved it. Quest update. 85, 100. Oh, still 15 left. I turned north, where the scent of blood and panicked footsteps were beginning to surface. It was as if the mutant creatures had finally realized that hiding wasn't enough anymore. They had to fight, or they'd be hunted down one by one. Maybe there was a leader among them calling for resistance, or maybe it was just the desperate instinct of beasts. But the result would be the same. Come on, let's finish this. I ran again, my body shooting like a shadow arrow. My red eyes glowed and the world felt like a dark painting I slashed apart with my claws. They tried to bite, claw, even gang up on me. But nothing could stop me. Every time I was hurt, my flesh closed again. Every time my HP dropped, the number bounced back up like it didn't care about logic. I wasn't an ordinary zombie. And this was my massacre stage. Quest. Update. 100. 100. Quest. Complete. Reward. New skill. Appraisal. As the system chime rang, I stopped walking. A soft breeze blew, carrying the fading scent of blood. The bodies of mutant beasts were now mute proof of one being dominating this place. I stood still, stared at my blood-soaked hand, then smiled. Appraisal, huh? Good. Now I can see how strong the things I meet really are. But behind that smile, my red eyes remained sharp. Chapter 22. Chapter 22. Simmer the Shadow of Legend. Dawn broke with golden light touching the treetops. While the world seemed to have just woken up, I had passed a night without sleep. I sat, leaning against a large boulder, my body smeared in dried blood and shards of mutant beast flesh. The ground around me was scarred, wounded from an endless battle. All the creatures that took part in that insane selection were dead, and I don't know how much it is. Not because of luck, but because I knew no fatigue. I didn't need sleep. I had no stamina to run out. That was the advantage of being undead. I could keep fighting until the whole world ran out of enemies. Ugh, finally some silence. I rested my head on the rock, letting the morning wind sweep across my cold face. But that peace didn't last long. Whoosh! The sound of giant wings tore through the sky, creating air pressure that made the leaves tremble. I looked up, and just as I thought, the eagle had returned. With a body roughly 5 meters tall and a wingspan possibly over 10 meters, it landed without a sound. The aura flowing from its body was so intense, it sent a chill down my spine. Despite me no longer having a human nervous system, it stared at me for a moment, then smiled. Good. Its voice was deep and heavy, yet oddly calming, as if it wasn't a beast speaking to me, but something far older and wiser. Before I could ask what it meant, its massive claw reached out and gently lifted me. Huh? Wait, don't just lift me up again like that, I protested. But as always, No one listened because all that came out was a growl. All I could do was surrender as my body was carried back into the sky. But this time, I didn't just stay quiet. Since I've got the appraisal skill now, it's time to use it. My eyes glowed faintly. A transparent status screen appeared before me, its soft glow freezing me in place as I read what it showed. Appraisal active. Name, Simmer Grace, Ancient Avian, rank 7, mythical beast. Element, light, wind, life, level. Stats, HP, MP, Estster, V80, C, T, Etal, AGI. Yad, luck, 777 active skills. Heaven's Feather, heals and grants holy protection over a wide area. Wind Rend, wing attack imbued with destructive wind. Soul Gaze, reads the soul's intent and potential. Divine Teleport, teleports itself and one target to a known location. Judgment Storm, massive light attack against dark entities. Passive skills. Immortal Wisdom, Aura of Calm. Regenerative Essence, titles. Guardian of the Ancient Sky, Healer of Realms, Seeker of the Worthy. Holy! I nearly dropped my jaw. Rank 7? I literally just evolved to rank 2. The gap in power was like a human versus a god. And that Luke stat 777, what are those stats? Are they so powerful the system can't display them? And those skills, area healing, teleportation, soul reading, massive divine attacks. This was no ordinary bird. Simur, isn't that the legendary bird from Persian? I muttered, staring at its shimmering feathers bathed in morning light. In mythology, Simurg was a symbol of wisdom, healing, and divine power. A bird that lived for thousands of years, transcending time itself, appearing only when the world was in crisis. And now I was being carried by it. No wonder it didn't quite look like an eagle. It was far beyond that. So, legendary creatures really do exist too, I thought to myself. I wanted to laugh, but didn't have the time. Simur glanced at me almost as if it knew I was appraising it. Its eyes narrowed, as if contemplating something. But it didn't stop me, didn't get angry, didn't attack. It just ignored it. And somehow, that was scarier than any threat. We flew over mountains, forests, even wide rivers glittering under the morning sun. I had no idea where we were going until finally, after several minutes of silent flight, I saw something in the distance. An ancient structure, hidden behind fog and thick trees, stood a massive stone building with towering pillars, its walls covered in moss and roots. But despite its aged appearance, the aura it radiated was anything but normal. Simur flapped gently and landed in front of its gate, then carefully set me down. The stone beneath my feet felt warm oddly, not damp despite the structure's abandoned look. I stared at the large closed gate. What is this place? Simur stood beside me, then spoke in a voice both gentle and commanding. A place for the chosen, those who survive the selection, those who are worthy. I looked at it. You know what I'm thinking? I asked in surprise, though all that came out was a growl. It didn't answer, but its eyes said enough. And as I looked at the great doors, they began to open on their own. The sound of grinding stone, rumbling from deep within the earth, and a faint light started to pour out from the building's depths. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. The Sky Library and Two Choices. As soon as my feet stepped onto the smooth stone floor beyond the ancient door, My eyes were met with an unexpected sight. Not the dark room full of skulls I had imagined, nor were there traps or bloody temples like in typical dungeons. Instead, is this a library? Before me stretched a vast room beyond imagination, far larger than it appeared from the outside. Towering shelves reached up to a ceiling I couldn't see, filled with old books, scrolls, even stone tablets carved with ancient writings. To the right, there was a small garden with hundreds of medicinal plants growing in abundance. Some glowed softly, others emitted strange scents or had forms I had never seen in this world. To the left, specialized shelves displayed items and weapons, swords, staffs, arrows, robes, bottles filled with colorful liquids, and other things that looked like rare artifacts. A sacred silence enveloped the place, like a heavenly library forgotten by the world. Simur walked slowly beside me, his feathers reflecting the soft light from the crystals hanging from the ceiling. "This is the Hall of Inheritance," he said, "a place only those who are chosen may enter, those who have proven themselves through the trial of battle." I was still staring at the shelves, amazed. Hall of Inheritance? This wasn't just a vault of items. It was a museum of a lost civilization, a place that stored knowledge, power, and perhaps secrets of the world before the chaos. "You may choose two," Simur continued. "One from the book section, and one from the item section. Use them well. Your choices will determine your next path." I turned to him. "Only two? More than that, you are not yet worthy. But two is enough, if you know what you truly need." I let out a breath. Of course, it wouldn't be that easy. And now the problem was, "This place is way too big," I screamed inwardly. The bookshelves stretched toward the sky, and the number of items could make a national museum jealous. The only thing that helped ease my mind a little was that each shelf had a glowing label: skill, offensive; skill, defensive; spell, elemental; spell, forbidden; support technique, and so on. On the item side, labels like weapon, blunt; weapon, sharp; potion, recovery; elixir, enhancement; artifact, unknown effect, and many more marked the special racks. I headed for the book section first. My eyes scanned each title quickly. Some immediately caught my attention. Phantom clone. Creates a shadow clone to confuse enemies. Death's Hand. A death element attack that kills with a single touch. Silent Step. Enhances stealth and silences footsteps. Blood Puppet Mastery. Increases control over blood-based puppets. I bit my lip. Which one was the best fit? If I go too frontal, I might die. But if I go too support, I could lose my striking power, I muttered. Eventually, my eyes fell on a thin book glowing with a deep purple light. Its title, Gravebind, Forbidden Death Spell. Binds the target's soul to the land of the dead, drastically reducing their defense and temporarily halting their regeneration. I instantly knew this was what I wanted. A binding spell that suited my zombie fighting style perfectly. Not just offensive, but weakening enemies too. I touched the book, and instantly light flowed into my body. A system notification popped up. Skill acquired, Gravebind, Luv 1. Forbidden Death Magic has been added to your spell list. I smiled faintly. One down, one to go. Then I turned to the items side. This part was more dangerous, as there were too many choices, and their effects were sometimes unclear. Luckily, I had appraisal now. I began scanning the shelves one by one, checking out weapons, potions, and artifacts. Some items stood out. Scythe of Mourning, a scythe with bonus damage against undead. Elixir of Dark Bloom, boosts the growth of darkness-based skills. Ring of Chainlust, strengthens users of chain-type weapons. Necklace of Dead Mercy, grants lifesteal on attacks. I paused at one particular item, a small bottle filled with a purplish liquid that shimmered softly. Appraisal revealed, undead extract, undead core. An injection that strengthens the undead's core existence, grants a permanent effect, plus 15% to all basic stats. I grabbed it without hesitation, and as I touched it, the system rang again. Item acquired, undead extract, undead core. Used to instantly boost bodily stats. The effect is permanent and irreversible. Simur watched silently. As I returned to him, he looked at me for a moment, then nodded slowly. Your choices are not bad. I gave a slight smile. Of course, I'm lucky after all, I said half-jokingly. But Simur responded with sharp eyes. It's not just luck. It's instinct and the will to survive. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. The silence before a new hunt. A gentle wind brushed my hair as Simurg's massive talons lowered me back to the ground. After a silent journey out of the inheritance chamber, I now landed in an unfamiliar forest. Towering trees loomed overhead, their thick foliage blocking the sunlight, casting shadows that made the ground beneath my feet look dark and damp. I let out a heavy sigh. Not from exhaustion, not because my body was drained. I'm a zombie. I don't know what physical fatigue even is, but mentally I was spent. Too much had happened. Too much information and too many decisions in such a short time. I need rest, I murmured before slumping against an old tree. But before I could truly relax, curiosity pushed me to open my status. I hadn't checked it since the end of yesterday's slaughter. Status. Name, Sylvia Hortensia Race, Noctura, Rank 2, Evolved Zombie. Element, Death, Level, 21, 30. Stats, HP, 18,000, 18,000. MP, 0, 0. STR, 2,180. VIT, 18,000. INT, 120. AGI, 528. Luck, Error, Active Skills. Infectious Bite, 820. Razor, Toxic Claw, 1140. Shadow Piercing, 540. Void Steps, 310. Appraisal, 110. Spell, Gravebind. Forbidden Death, Spell, Rank 4. 1,500 MP, Passive Skill. Killing Stroke, High Regeneration, 840. Restores 450 HP per second. And Toxic Affinity, The Blood Instinct. New titles, Reincarnated. First Evolution. Second Evolution, Blessing from Goddess Persephone. Leveled up quite a lot, I murmured softly, my eyes scanning through the numbers and skills that now felt more substantial. But what really made me pause was the spell section. It was now separate from active skills. So, I have a separate slot for spells now? I mumbled. Then my eyes fell on the name of the spell. Gravebind. A high-level death spell. I had chosen it earlier because it sounded good and cool, but Damn it. It just hit me. My MP is 0. I smacked my forehead. What use is having a cool spell if I can't even cast it? My zombie race is indeed tough, but the drawbacks are clear. I have no mana. Will there be an evolution that changes that? I whispered with a sigh. Who knows? But now's not the time to complain. I chose to ignore it for now. My eyes shifted to the small bottle in my hand that I'd obtained from the inheritance chamber. The thick, purple liquid still glowed faintly, as if waiting for the right moment to be used. Use it now? Or wait? My instincts said, wait. I need to know when a truly desperate moment comes. There's no guarantee I can control its effects. So for now, I stored it in my system inventory. Then I sat back down. Not because my body was tired. I don't need sleep, don't need food. But my mind was utterly pained. These hands had just slaughtered dozens, maybe hundreds of living and undead creatures. Yet, even as I closed my eyes, the system wouldn't let me rest. Ting, new quest, unlocked, title, 3rd evolution, challenging the limits of the undead. Target rank 3, time limit, 7 days. Reward, Chain of Abyss, weapon. Class, living, chain. My eyes snapped open. 7 days? I repeated the system's voice. 7 days to go from level 21 to 30? That means I'll have to hunt faster, more efficiently. And whatever this chain of abyss is, if it's a reward directly from the system, then it's clearly not just some ordinary weapon. I haven't even rested for an hour, I muttered, letting out a dry chuckle. But the instincts inside me urged me to rise. As a zombie, I don't have the luxury of laziness. Every second I spend not killing is a missed opportunity. And if I stay still too long, then they, humans or other mutants, will catch up to me. I stared into the forest ahead. Quiet, damp. The faint scent of blood still lingered in my nose from who knows where. I stood up. My bones made soft, cracking sounds. Shadows quivered gently around me. All right, I said, gazing far ahead. 7 days. 7 days to tear through this forest again. I stepped forward, and the shadows around me moved in unison. The hunt begins anew. Chapter 25. Chapter 25. Light trapped in regret. The bright morning light poured through the large windows overlooking the training grounds of the military base. Inside the eastern gym complex, the rhythmic sound of weights clashing and heavy breathing echoed. Sweat dripped from Sophia's chin, lingering for a moment before falling to the glossy black floor. She wore a white sports bra and dark gray leggings that showed her lean yet powerful muscles. To anyone watching, Sophia was a girl with a holy aura, gentle, calm, and light itself. But at this moment, she was lifting 150 kilograms as easily as if it were a basket of vegetables at the market. The clink of metal resounded as she placed the barbell back on its rack. She sat on the bench and took a deep breath, tilting her head back to stare at the ceiling. But her mind wasn't here. Not in the gym, not in the base. Her thoughts were still trapped in one event, the siege on that zombie witch, an event that should never have happened, one that continued to haunt her heart. I failed to stop them, Sophia whispered internally, her fingers clenched tightly on her thighs. She knew the military had grown wary of that zombie, but still, they shouldn't have attacked without warning. She had never attacked them first. Even when surrounded, she chose to hold back until provoked, and Sophia couldn't do a thing. She lowered her head, her golden hair damp with sweat covering part of her face. Her lower teeth bit into her upper lip. Her heart felt like it was being twisted. "Finished training already?" a gentle male voice called out. A member of her team, a bespectacled man with a medium build, approached carrying a sheet of paper. "Victor!" Sophia nodded faintly, then grabbed a small towel and wiped her neck. "You done with the appraisal?" Victor nodded. "Yeah, took a while, but I got it. Here's your updated status." He handed over a neatly handwritten paper. Sophia accepted it and read through it slowly, her eyes widening slightly at the numbers. Status: Sophia Lichtwald. Race: human. Awakened. Element: light level 18. Stats: HP 4300. 4300 1-800 1-800 810 Vitia 700 Inti 920 AGI 650 Loka 530 Skills: Radiant Heal 720 Light Lance 720 Sanctuary Field 410 A Blinding Step 210 A Mana Control Passive Light Blessing Passive Titles: Chosen of Light, Holy Acolyte, Survivor of the Fall. Sophia stared at the numbers in silence. Her stats had grown significantly compared to a few weeks ago. She knew all the hard training and battles had paid off. But why did her heart still feel empty? Victor sighed and sat on the bench beside her. "Sophia, no one could have predicted how the world would change. We all react in the ways we're capable of. You didn't have the power to override military orders. You're not a general. But I could have spoken up. I could have stood in front of them and you did speak up. We all know that. Even the Major knew you opposed the decision. But this world isn't fair. You know that, right?" Sophia closed her eyes. She knew this world wasn't fair. It wasn't a place for gentle goodness. Not anymore. And yet, the guilt gnawed at her bit by bit, every night, every morning. "Do you want to see that zombie girl again?" Victor asked, suddenly. Sophia was silent, then slowly nodded. "I want to apologize to her, and, if possible, walk beside her, help her, not just watch from afar." Victor looked at the girl with both admiration and sympathy. Then he stood, patting her shoulder. "Then keep training. And don't just get very strong. Become someone who can stand up to anyone, even the military, without backing down." Sophia looked at Victor and nodded. "Thank you." After the man left, Sophia stood once more. She grabbed another barbell, 160 kilograms. She took a deep breath, then lifted it, lighter than before. Her body might not yet strength, but her heart had started to rediscover its purpose. "I'll meet that zombie girl again. And when that time comes, I want to look her in the eye, not with guilt, but with resolve." Chapter 26. Chapter 26. The Evolution of the Zombie. The midday sky was scorching, yet the atmosphere at the main base felt cold. A heavy tension lingered in the air as Sophia stepped into the large military-style room alongside several other awakened team captains. Some were already seated, engaged in hushed conversations. Everyone seemed more on edge than usual. The room was oval-shaped, with a large screen at the front and semicircular tables facing the podium. Standing there was Colonel Wren, the commanding officer of the awakened operations in this zone. His expression was stern, eyes sharp as he scanned each of the team representatives. Sophia sat in the middle row. She didn't know why her heart was racing, but her instincts told her this wasn't a regular meeting, and she was right. Colonel Wren began speaking, his deep voice echoing through the room. Footage from our recent reconnaissance missions shows a resurgence in high-level zombie mutations. He pressed a button, and the large screen lit up. Several drone and helmet cam recordings played, teams of awakened fighting against creatures that weren't ordinary zombies. We've classified them into several new types, Wren continued. The screen changed, displaying a tall, hulking creature with skin like rough, blackened steel. Its movements were slow, but every step shattered the ground. Tank, said Wren. Extreme durability. Resistant to high-caliber bullets. Takes at least 3 elemental users, lightning or fire, to bring one down. The next footage showed a gaunt zombie with elongated arms like sickles. It moved fast, vanishing from camera view multiple times. Hunter. Fast, lethal, and nearly impossible to track at night. Avoid close combat. It's already wiped out 2 teams in the past 2 days. The next recording was pure horror. Something crawling along a building wall, its head missing a skull, only a pulsating brain exposed. Its long tongue yanked off a soldier's head in a single motion. Some of the captains winced or cursed under their breath. We call it liquor, Wren said flatly. High audio sensitivity. Attacks based on sound. Its tongue is its weapon. Long and incredibly strong. Weakness. Sudden loud noises can temporarily repel it. Sophia watched the screen with growing discomfort. This was evolving too fast. These mutations weren't normal. It was as if they were evolving like humans. The screen switched again, this time showing a massive zombie, built like a bodybuilder. Its face was emotionless, yet each punch shattered military vehicles like they were toys. Tyrant! This one has immense physical strength, even greater than the tank, but it's faster and shows basic combat tactics, like predicting enemy movement. Wren paused. Then the screen changed once more. This footage silenced the entire room. A female zombie, with long, tangled hair covering part of her face, thin and in tattered clothes. But when she screamed, every nearby zombie rushed toward the sound. Witch, Wren announced. A summoner zombie. Usually passive, but if disturbed or if there's a loud noise, she'll scream and summon hordes. If you find one, kill it silently from a distance. Sophia held her breath, but before she could fully process the horror, the screen changed again. This time, it was different. Not a grotesque or terrifying zombie, but a graceful figure. A woman in a flowing dark and red gown, her long black hair with a red gradient at the ends, and glowing red eyes scanning the battlefield. Wren looked at everyone with an unreadable expression. This one, the last we called her witch, but she to strong and human-like appearance, intelligent and even have like noble aura. He glanced briefly at Sophia, but after deeper analysis, we've given her a new designation. Queen. Sophia bit her lower lip. She knew and no need to say it. This queen, we once carried out an ambush when she was still at rank 1, but even then, there were already too many casualties. Out of 400 people, more than 150 were killed, as every one of her attacks carried zombie venom and various other poisons. For now, she has disappeared, and her whereabouts remain unknown. The question is, Wren continued, is she dangerous? Yes, but she never attack first. And something we can negotiate with her? Maybe no, because we have attack her first. Silence fell over the room. Wren placed his hands on the table. For now, we know only one thing. She's an anomaly. Among all detected rank 3 zombies, She's the only one we can't consistently classify, and we don't know she has become rank 3 or not yet. Someone from the back row asked, "Is it possible? She's their new leader." Ren didn't answer right away. The screen turned off. The room went still. In the past 7 days, we've detected at least 13 rank 3 zombies, each with unique abilities. But the queen was the first to appear, but now she gone. If you encounter her, do not act recklessly. Sophia clenched her fists on her lap. But that didn't mean they couldn't meet again. Chapter 27. Chapter 27. The Price of Evolution. The meeting in the military base's main hall wasn't over yet. After Colonel Ren's explanation about the new zombie types and the emergence of the Queen, the atmosphere was still tense. The team captains exchanged glances, some serious, others already beginning to formulate personal strategies in their minds. But when the side door opened and a man in a white uniform walked in with several folders in hand, the room fell silent again. He was Dr. Elric Vash, head of the research team from the central base. Thin glasses sat on his nose, his silver blonde hair slightly messy. But the most striking thing about him was his gaze, sharp, full of enthusiasm, like a scientist who had just discovered something insane and brilliant at the same time. He stood next to Colonel Ren, giving a slight nod to everyone in the room. "Good afternoon. I won't take long." He immediately turned on the large monitor. A 3D image appeared, a zombie skull with the brain section highlighted, and in the center, a small diamond-shaped crystal emitting a faint reddish glow. This is what we found from autopsies of several rank 3 zombies. This called zombie core, or blood crystal. Elric said, located at the center of the brain. Not all zombies have it, only those who have reached rank 3, meaning they've evolved beyond the basic limit of their species. Whispers started to spread. "We've also isolated its effects," Elric continued, tapping the screen to display a graph. "When condensed and purified, this crystal can be broken down into a liquid reagent, and here are the results." He showed a graph of an awakened human's status increase after using the purified reagent. The boost was astonishing. 1 crystal yields 10 reagents, and 1 reagent increases 3 levels at once. Those words were like a bomb dropped in the middle of the room. What? Impossible. 3 levels? That means someone at level 5 could jump straight to 8. With just 3 reagents, someone could rank up. The room erupted. Some jumped from their seats. Others shouted to their teammates in excitement. Sophia could only freeze, trying to process what she had just heard. If that reagent was real, then months of struggle to gain 1 level could be compressed into a single injection. It was like a shortcut to power. But Elric raised a hand. "Calm down. Listen first. This crystal is dangerous. It still contains remnants of an active virus. Anyone who consumes it carelessly will die or mutate into a zombie. And maybe it has a usage limit, but we don't know for now." The uproar simmered down a bit. "That's why," Elric continued, "this reagent can only be used after a 72-hour purification process by a lab team. It can't be used in the field, and each reagent requires high-level containment." Colonel Ren stepped forward, his expression more serious than before. "And we have not authorized distribution yet. Every crystal obtained must be handed over to Central Command. Any violations will be considered treason and dealt with under military law." Someone from the right row, Captain Lyle from the fire unit, stood up. "With all due respect, sir, this is an opportunity we can't ignore. Many of our teams are stagnating at rank 2. If we could rank up faster, we could expand the safe zones." "He's right," said the captain of the hunter unit. "Rank 3 zombies are tough, but with teamwork and tactics, we can take them down." "Then what about our rank system?" asked someone from the support team. "How many reagents are needed to rank up?" Elric explained quickly. Awakened humans' levels are divided like this. Levels 1 to 10 are rank 1, 11 to 30, rank 2, and 3160 rank 3. Maybe because not yet people rank 4. Each rank increases your power exponentially. But remember, reagents only give levels, not technique, control, or experience. Colonel Wren added, "Currently, our base only has 2 rank 3 individuals. One of them is me. The other, you already know, Captain Altair from the Ragin unit." Sophia swallowed hard. Captain Altair, the quiet man who could control lightning like a god of war. Once, he shot a lightning bolt the size of a tree into a horde of zombies and left a massive crater. If there were more people as powerful as him, then humanity could truly rival the high evolution zombies. But the risk of mutation, the danger of the crystal, and the fact that a rank 3 zombie could wipe out an entire team in seconds couldn't be ignored. Colonel Wren spoke again, his tone firm. "The final decision will be announced in 48 hours. During that time, all teams are expected to submit reports on readiness and rank 3 engagement strategies in case we decide to hunt them." Silence. No one spoke. Then, like a delayed explosion, the uproar broke out again. Chapter 28. Chapter 28. The night before the hunt. Night fell quickly at the military base, as if the sky itself understood how heavy this day had been for so many. The afternoon meeting hadn't fully settled in Sophia's mind. She stood before the tactical board hanging on the wall of her team's barracks, staring at the strategy notes she had yet to complete. The night air was cold, but not freezing, just enough to make the body crave warmth. But no one could sleep tonight. Sophia's team had gathered. They sat in a circle on a worn-out mat, layered with Yuna's thin rug, each holding a cup of instant coffee or hot water. Their faces were serious, though some tried to mask their anxiety with faint smiles or dry jokes. Sophia lifted her gaze, looking at each of them. Victor, Rina, Dito, Camille, Yuna, and Vivi. "I want to be honest," she said, breaking the silence. "Tomorrow, we're going up against one of the 11 remaining rank 3 zombies." No one responded right away. Only the ticking of an old clock in the corner of the room filled the space. "Colonel Wren has made it clear. This is a voluntary mission. If any of you don't want to join, I won't be mad. You can stay at the base, help from a distance, or wait for another mission. No pressure from me. Seriously." She looked at them deeply. "I know it's crazy. Rank 3s aren't a joke. Just one of them could wipe out an elite team in minutes. But if we succeed, we won't just be helping humanity. We might also rank up, grow stronger faster, and maybe shorten this war." Silence. Then Victor took a sip of his coffee and smirked. "You forgot one thing, Sophia," he said. "We're not joining just because of the mission. We're doing this because you're the leader. And honestly, I'd rather march into hell with you than sit here watching the news." Yuna chuckled. "If Victor's in, I'm in. Besides, who's going to help you if you faint from exhaustion?" Dito slapped his knee. "I've never fought a rank 3, but I don't want to regret not trying. I'm in." Rina nodded slowly. "I'm scared, honestly. But I've been a healer too long to run now. If you're all going, I'll be right behind you." Camille, the usually quiet sniper, simply raised his finger. I want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can make a rank 3 zombie bleed or not. Vivi smiled widely, though tension lingered in her eyes. I don't have much experience, but I don't want to be a burden. I'm coming, big sis Sophie. Sophia let out a breath, relief and emotion mixing in her chest. She nodded slowly, her voice trembling slightly. Thank you, all of you. That night, they couldn't sleep, and they weren't the only ones. Across the base, room after room, team after team, soldiers, survivors, and awakened couldn't shut their eyes. Some sharpened weapons, others stared blankly at the ceiling, and a few wrote last letters, just in case. The tension hung like fog, unseen, but felt by every sense. The next day, before the sun fully rose, Sophia walked to the mission registration center and enlisted her team for the hunt. The clerk looked surprised, but quickly wrote down their names without comment. After that, they headed to the arsenal. The place was busier than usual. Many other teams were also upgrading their gear. Technicians and quartermasters worked non-stop, supplying weapons, armor, and special equipment for the Rank 3 hunt. The atmosphere felt like an RPG weapon shop before a major boss fight. Sophia stuck with her signature weapon, a gold-and-silver cross-shaped spear. She only requested minor repairs and durability enhancements. No need to change weapons. She had bonded with that spear, and no other weapon suited her better. Victor, with his appraisal ability, took more time. He studied dozens of scopes before choosing one with auto-tracking and night vision. We don't know if the zombie will appear at day or night, he said. Better be ready. Rena selected a healing staff, not a weapon for battle, but a tool that could save lives. And that's what she needed most. Dito finally found his new sword, Ardent Fang, a two-handed blade with a light burning effect. If they can regenerate, at least I'll roast the flesh first, he said with a thin smile. Camille was like a kid in a toy store. He picked a 50 caliber sniper rifle with a long barrel, anti-recoil stabilizer, and armor-piercing rounds. The weapon needed one full person just to carry it, but Camille didn't care. If one shot can punch a hole in their skull, that's enough. Yuna, agile and fast, replaced her old dagger with a pair of thin obsidian blades that carried a mild poison effect. If I can't kill them outright, I'll at least slow them down, she said. Vivi, the youngest member, chose a round shield. Though small in stature, she knew a defensive role could save the whole team. I won't let anyone get hurt without me standing in front of them. Once everything was ready, they back on camp, fully checking again the equipment and item. The hunt would begin tomorrow morning, but the pressure and adrenaline had already arrived. They didn't know what kind of rank 3 zombie they would face, but they knew one thing: they would face it together. Chapter 29, the name on the podium. Dawn had just broken when more than 100 people gathered in the military base's wide courtyard. Beneath the pale sky and biting morning air, they stood in lines, some clad in full combat gear, others still adjusting weapons on their shoulders or armor on their arms. Sophia stood with her team, her heart beating faster than usual. Around them, teams from various military units and specialized survivors stood in formation. Some faces she recognized, most she didn't. But there was one thing they all shared: eyes filled with determination and tension. The atmosphere abruptly silenced as General Reinhardt climbed the podium made from stacked metal containers. The silver-haired old man wore his signature combat coat, with his rank and the national emblem displayed clearly on his chest. His voice rang out, amplified by the loudspeakers. "Soldiers and awakened," Reinhardt began, looking at each of them one by one. "Today, we mark the beginning of the Rank 3 hunt." There was no applause, Only the morning wind and the creak of weapons being readied were heard. This was no celebration to this battle. 11 dangerous entities are out there, Reinhardt continued. Each one has the ability to destroy this base in minutes if they so choose. We cannot wait for them to strike first. So, today, we hunt them. He pointed to a large screen hanging beside the stage. A list appeared on the screen. Rank 3 zombies: Tyrant, Tank, Witch, Hunter, Licker, and the last. Queen, Reinhardt said flatly. The final subject remains untraceable. After last week's attack, she vanished. We don't know if she's dead, hiding, or watching us from afar. For now, she is excluded from the hunt. Sophia bowed her head slightly, unease creeping into her chest. She knew who he meant. Where are you now? Reinhardt continued. For efficiency and higher survival chances, you have been divided into several large groups, each consisting of 2 teams awakened and 1 from military soldier. Each group will be assigned 1 target, determined randomly. Locations have been pinpointed through drone surveillance and intelligence reports. A map of the region around the base appeared on the screen. Red locations were marked with skull symbols, signifying possible Rank 3 sites. You'll receive the map, data, and assignments shortly. You have 30 minutes to prepare, then military vehicles will take you to your designated points. Reinhardt sighed. His voice softened a little, but remained firm. You are humanity's hope. You are the spearhead. Don't make us regret this decision. Then he raised his right hand. Good luck, and don't die. Silence returned to the entire field as group names began to be called. Sophia waited calmly until finally, Group Zephyr, Team Sophia, Team Rajan, and Captain Ivan from military. Target, Tyrant. Her team's expressions tensed. Tyrant, one of the most infamous Rank 3s, known for his brutality. Even among commanders, his name was spoken in hushed tones. A massive, muscular creature with regeneration and overwhelming physical strength. Reports stated a single slap could crush an armored vehicle and knows tactics. Sophia turned as a tall man approached, short white hair and eyes sharp as a hawk. On his shoulder, a lightning cross insignia. Captain Altair from Team Rajan, he said, offering a handshake. You must be Sophia? Sophia shook his hand. Yes, we're grouped together. A group with 3 captains. Interesting, Altair replied. His voice was calm, but his aura felt like a storm ready to erupt. 2 metal batons, his signature electric weapons, hung on his back. I'll focus on draining Tyrant's energy from a distance. You move in and finish the job. Sophia nodded. We'll adapt to the situation. There wasn't much more to say. Time was too valuable. 3 military trucks pulled up in front of them. Group Zephyr boarded. 40 people, 2 teams, and 1 group from military. On a mission that could be their last. The vehicles shook as it drove over rocky terrain toward the coordinates shown on the map. Victor was busy reading Tyrant's biological data on his tablet. This creature isn't just strong. It's emotionless, like a killing machine. It can't be scared. It can't be intimidated. Yuna gripped the dagger in her hand. Then all we can do is stop it with brute force. Sophia sat quietly, watching the blue sky gradually turn cloudy. She thought about this mission. And another figure who had yet to appear, a figure more dangerous than Tyrant. If you're still alive, are you watching us from afar? They had arrived. Up ahead, the ruins of a small town greeted them. Fallen trees and charred buildings gave the place a chilling silence. Chapter 30. Chapter 30. The Tyrant's Trap. The sky was starting to darken as 6 military vehicles rolled through roads filled with rubble. Their massive tires crushed debris, jostling the passengers inside. Engine roars echoed loudly, while everyone inside remained silent, focused on their mission: to bring down one of the most lethal rank 3 zombies, Tyrant. Sophia sat cross-legged in the back of an open truck, her hands gripping her cross spear tightly. In front of her, Victor, Rena, Dito, Camille, Yuna, and Vivi leaned against the vehicle's wall. Their faces were tense, yet without doubt. In the other vehicles, members of Team Raijin and fully armed military soldiers also waited, ready for whatever would come. But they didn't know that the nightmare was about to arrive sooner than they expected. A thunderous boom, like lightning erupting from deep underground, shook the air. Before anyone could react, one of the middle vehicles was hurled into the air and tossed like a toy. Its metal crumpled, wheels torn off, and shards of steel flying in all directions. "What the? Stop! Stop the vehicle!" Sophia's truck screeched to a halt, throwing everyone forward. Screams and explosions followed. Plumes of dust and black smoke rose in the distance, accompanied by a roar, like a beast howling from the depths of hell. Sophia quickly stood up, jumped down from the truck, and ran toward the destroyed vehicle. Altair was already there, eyes narrowed at the towering figure emerging from the smoke. It was Tyrant. Over 3 meters tall, his body looked like layers of muscle without skin. His massive hands were still drenched in blood. He didn't move fast, but each step made the ground tremble. "Dear God," one soldier whispered. Sophia quickly raised her hand. A white glow shone from her palm as she cast healing magic toward the survivors of the wrecked vehicle. "Quick! Pull the survivors out!" she shouted. Several military members and Victor jumped in to help, pulling injured bodies from the wreckage. But hope crumbled as 5 of them were already dead. Bones shattered, faces unrecognizable, and one of them was Captain Ivan. Sophia stared at Captain Ivan's body in shock and sorrow, but she quickly looked away and stood tall. "Captain Ivan is down!" she called out to the remaining soldiers. "I'm taking command now. Follow orders. Don't panic." Some of them hesitated, but with Tyrant's deafening roar, there was no time to argue. They nodded. Altair stepped closer, eyes never leaving Tyrant. "We have no choice but to attack now, before he destroys another vehicle." Sophia nodded. "Offensive formation. Team Raijin, apply long-range pressure. My team, flank from the left. Military squad, form a defense line behind us and protect the gunners." Orders spread quickly. The battlefield was soon filled with the sounds of gunfire, footsteps, and magic. Camille positioned himself atop a vehicle, aiming his .50 caliber rifle at Tyrant. Yuna slipped through the debris, dagger in hand. Dito and Victor faced forward, while Rena prepared support and healing spells. At first, the fight seemed to be in their favor. Tyrant, massive and powerful as he was, appeared overwhelmed by their coordination. Altair moved like a storm, channeling electricity into Tyrant's body each time he got close, then retreating before being caught. Camille landed shots to the creature's head, black blood spraying. Sophia attacked from the opposite side, distracting with holy magic and thrusts of her glowing spear. Every blow was returned, but their pressure forced Tyrant to retreat. The military squad began to gain confidence, shooting with rifles and grenades. "We can win," one soldier shouted, but it was too soon to celebrate. Tyrant suddenly stopped moving, as if collapsing to the ground. Some hesitated to approach. A fatal mistake. In a flash, Tyrant surged up in a burst of motion, slamming the ground with his hand. The explosion of dirt and debris shattered their formation. "Watch out!" Sophia yelled, but it was too late. Tyrant leapt toward the rear military line. His head down, shoulders braced like a charging bull. He rammed through them like a cannonball. 3 soldiers died on the spot. 2 more were flung into the air and didn't move again. Then, 5 more were crushed by his relentless punches. Their blood splattered across vehicles and abandoned weapons. "Something's wrong," Altair muttered, eyes narrowing. He pretended to be cornered. Sophia gritted her teeth. "He's not some wild beast. He tricked us with tactics." "Casualties?" Victor asked. 8. No. 13, Rena answered, voice trembling. "All military. We've lost a lot of firepower." Camille paused his shooting. "If this continues, we'll lose our momentum." Sophia raised her spear. "No, we can't falter. Focus on our strengths. Tyrant may be smart, but we have more than just muscle. We have teamwork." Altair nodded. "Agreed. We need to sync our attacks and bait him properly this time. No more falling into his traps." Blood still dripped from Tyrant's hands as he stood tall. The creature looked at them one by one, then let out a long roar. Chapter 31. A step back. Explosions and crashes echoed everywhere. Building debris and shards of metal littered the ground around them. Dust hung thick in the air, forming a gray haze that choked the lungs. In the middle of the chaotic battlefield, 2 figures stood firm, their bodies drenched in sweat and stained with blood. Sophia and Altair. The tyrant stood not far from them, its heavy breathing sounding like the thrum of an old engine. Its massive body appeared almost unscathed, though a few wounds from explosions and slashes marked its surface. But its strength wasn't the most infuriating thing. It was that mocking smile, as if this was all a game, as if they were mere puppets here solely for its amusement. Sophia's team and Raijan's team had fought with all they had, but now they could only hold the line. Altair slammed his electric staff to the ground, sending a shockwave that pushed the tyrant back slightly. But the reaction was brief. It quickly returned to its original stance, raising one hand as if to strike down anyone foolish enough to approach. "This can't go on," Altair muttered, panting. "If we stay here, everyone dies for nothing." Sophia touched her damaged shoulder guard. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from tension. Her body bore the strain of repeated healing magic, but she knew one wrong move, and it would all be over. Suddenly, Altair turned toward the remaining military soldiers behind them. "Retreat! He shouted, his voice booming louder than the earlier explosions. But no one moved. Some only stood frozen, eyes wide in fear. Their weapons were gripped tightly, but none had the will to pull the trigger. They had lost half their team, lost their captain, lost their fighting spirit. What remained now was a primal survival instinct that left them paralyzed. Altair clicked his tongue in frustration. "Cowards!" Sophia raised her hand, her voice softer but resolute. "All of you, fall back now. We'll hold this creature off. Go, before more lives are lost." One by one, they began to move. Then others followed. Victor, Rena, Camille, Dito, Yuna, Vivi. They, from Sophia's team, started pulling soldiers back one by one. Members of Team Raijan also moved swiftly, guarding the retreat path. It took time and a bit of force, but eventually the remaining group was pulled out of the combat zone. The tyrant noticed the movement, but did nothing. It simply stood still, its glowing red eyes fixed on Sophia and Altair, who remained behind. "He knows we won't leave until everyone's safe," Sophia whispered, tightening her grip. "He's toying with us," Altair replied, his expression dark. "Testing how long we can last. Holding, not fighting." The tyrant took a step forward. The ground beneath cracked. Sophia and Altair immediately blocked its attack together, combining light magic and electricity. The impact pushed them back nearly 5 meters, but they didn't fall. They stood once more, like 2 final walls separating total destruction from survival. The tyrant raised its fist again, but didn't strike. It stopped. Suddenly, the massive creature turned away, then walked off without a word. It slowly stepped behind the ruins and vanished, just like that. Sophia and Altair stood still. Their breathing was heavy, their chests heaving rapidly, not from fear, but from exhaustion and disbelief. "He left?" Altair murmured. "Like he was mocking us," Sophia answered softly, her eyes still fixed on the spot where the tyrant disappeared. No one followed, no sound remained. Only silence wrapped around them after the storm. At last, they too retreated, heading to the predetermined emergency rendezvous point. An abandoned building that once served as a small-town police station now became their temporary base. Inside, the surviving teams gathered. Some soldiers sat on the floor, tending to their wounds. Others just sat still, unable to process what had happened. Many faces were gone, faces that smiled and joked just hours ago, now reduced to names and memories. Altair immediately opened his communicator and contacted command. "This is Altair. Zephyr Unit reporting." Static sounded briefly before General Reinhardt's voice came through. "We read you. Report, Captain." The tyrant struck first. "We lost one of the vehicles within seconds. Captain Ivan is KIA. We tried to hold and reform, managed to push it back for a while. But that was part of its tactic. When we let our guard down, it shattered the formation and massacred the military. Our teams managed to pull the survivors out. When only Sophia and I remained, the tyrant stopped. It left on its own." Silence. Reinhardt didn't respond right away, but when his voice returned, it was heavier in tone. "Understood. Heavy losses. But this intel is crucial. You survived. That's what matters." Sophia lowered her head slightly as Altair ended the transmission. "I feel like I failed," she said quietly. "No," Altair replied. "We did what we had to. We protected the lives we could. Not every battle is won with blood and glory. Sometimes victory is just being able to stand." Sophia nodded, though the weight in her heart remained. She looked at her team, Victor bandaging Dito's wounded arm, Rena healing Yuna's twisted ankle, Camille cleaning his weapon, and Vivi leaning against the wall, clutching her shield to her chest. They were all still alive, still whole. But for how long? Outside, the sun began to set. The sky turned orange. Chapter 32. Chapter 32. A net without gaps. Morning light seeped through the windows of the old building that had become their temporary shelter. Dust floated in the air, dancing in the faint sunlight, yet not a single smile could be found among those who woke up that morning. Altair sat on the second floor, leaning against a cracked wall, his eyes staring at the small screen in his hand. The communicator buzzed constantly, displaying data from command headquarters. Sophia approached, offering a cup of hot water. Her face was weary, but still calm. "You didn't sleep well, did you?" Sophia asked softly. Altair nodded slowly, then shook his head. "It's not about sleep. I just received a report from Reinhardt." Sophia sat beside him, waiting for an explanation. "It's not just us. Almost all groups assigned to killing zombie rank 3 failed. Some even vanished entirely. Not a single survivor. Sophia's eyes widened. What do you mean, vanished entirely? Altair turned the screen toward her, showing the names of units now marked as eliminated. No green signals or active coordinates, just red and silence. The Northeast group lost contact 2 days ago. The last recording shows a battle with a large creature, possibly not zombie rank 3, maybe mutant animal. Then, the Southern Group 1 was destroyed last night. Even the Steel Horse unit disappeared without a trace. No signal, bodies, and tracks. Sophia fell silent. Her whole body felt colder than usual. Reinhardt's realized the situation is deteriorating. Altair continued, his voice low. He's ordered reserve forces to be sent to the remaining active groups, including us. Sophia nodded, slightly relieved, but somehow, the anxiety in her chest wouldn't fade. The day passed, step by step. Outside the building, the remnants of the military and combined teams began maintaining their equipment and rehearsing simple formations. No one relaxed. There was no time for true rest. Everyone was waiting for help, but that help never came. By noon, unease began to spread. Vivi paced back and forth, while Victor and Rena tried to calm the increasingly distrustful soldiers. Dito even muttered, "What if they've forgotten we're here?" Altair remained silent, eyes sharp as he watched the horizon from the upper window. Sophia joined him, standing beside him. "You feel it too, don't you?" "It's been more than 6 hours since the assistance report was sent," Altair muttered. "Other groups have reported their reinforcements, but us..." Before he could finish, his communicator buzzed again. Altair immediately pressed it. "This is Altair." "Captain," came a tense voice from Central Communications. "We just received the final report from the reinforcement unit sent to your coordinates." Sophia snapped to attention. Everyone on the second floor stopped what they were doing and gathered around. "What happened?" Altair asked sharply. "That unit was destroyed. No survivors. We received a distress signal that only lasted 16 seconds before all contact was lost. We managed to recover part of the footage from their surveillance drone, transmitting now." Altair's screen lit up, displaying a shaky black and white recording. A view of an open forest road, military vehicles moving slowly, weapons ready. Then, from behind the trees, a large shadow darted by with impossible speed. Then, chaos. The drone spun in the air, capturing the horrifying figure. Huge body, bulging muscles, glowing red eyes. No doubt about it. Tyrant. He attacked silently. No screams and no emotion. One by one, vehicles were crushed in an instant, thrown, destroyed, impaled by hard bones protruding from his body. Blood stained the forest road like spilled red paint. The footage ended as Tyrant stared directly at the drone and threw something. The image cut off. Sophia clutched her chest. Altair clenched his fists. "He did it on purpose," he growled. "Tyrant deliberately attacked the reinforcements coming, only to us. He let the other groups get their aid, but our group, he surrounded us quietly, left us alone, like we're his game's target." Everyone went quiet at those words. Finally, Rena whispered, "Why, us? What does he want?" "I don't know," Sophia murmured. "But one thing is certain. He doesn't want us getting help. He wants to isolate us, to provoke us, or make us panic," Altair added. "He wants us to break, or maybe he wants us to die slowly, with no way out, no backup." The atmosphere in the building turned grim. Those who still had hope now just gripped their weapons tighter. Whatever hope remained for reinforcements vanished along with that footage. In that case, we can't wait anymore. Sophia stood tall, her face now filled with resolve. We have to hold out on our own, like before. Altair looked at her, then nodded. We fortify the defenses, we prepare escape routes, and most importantly, we watch the skies and the ground. Tyrant won't give us a second chance. If he wants to play, Sophia continued, her voice calm but sharp, then we'll be players he can't take down easily. Outside, the afternoon wind began to blow. Mist slowly descended from the gray sky. But inside that old building, a flame of spirit reignited, small, fragile, but unyielding, because they knew something was watching them. Chapter 33. Chapter 33. A restless night, a deadly morning night, fell with a silence different from usual, not because of exhaustion, nor from the biting cold against their skin, but from the fear that blanketed every corner of the abandoned building they were holed up in. The dim light of portable lamps did little to dispel the weight pressing down on them all. Sophia sat cross-legged near a foldable tent in one of the rooms. Altair leaned against the wall, his eyes fixed on the surveillance monitor in his hands. From the upper floor, several team members stood guard, while most of the military personnel sat silently on the opposite side of the room, restless. Whispers began to rise. Some of the soldiers, those from the Central Military, no longer hid their frustration and fear. I'm telling you, we should just head back. We're not going to survive here if we stay. He's right. The reinforcements got annihilated. They've abandoned us. Why should we hold out? Their leaders are insane. That guy and the holy girl care more about resistance than survival. Altair let out a low growl of annoyance. He glanced at Sophia, who had her eyes closed, trying to stay calm. But his voice was sharp as he stepped toward the group of increasingly agitated soldiers. You think you can just run from Tyrant? Altair said flatly, his voice cutting through the air. That creature isn't some coward like you. He hunts, stalks, and waits. You think you'll get out of his reach without losing your head? And staying here will save us. One of them stood up, pointing accusingly. You saw it. Even the reinforcements couldn't reach us. We've been left to die. I'm not dying because of your obsession. Sophia slowly stood. Her face was pale, but resolute. It's not an obsession. It's a decision. One to deny the enemy what it wants. Fear. Fear? The soldier laughed bitterly. You're still talking about bravery and hope? We're just humans, not heroes. Altair looked ready to fire back, but Sophia raised her hand. Then go, she said calmly. Tomorrow morning, we won't stop you. Her words silenced the room. The soldiers exchanged uncertain looks, stunned that Sophia would surrender so easily. But Sophia wasn't surrendering. She simply wouldn't waste her strength saving those who didn't want to be saved. Morning came too quickly. The mist still hung low, making the air more humid than usual. In front of the building, 12 soldiers stood in a makeshift formation. Their bags were packed with emergency supplies, weapons at the ready, though their hands trembled. Sophia and Altair stood at the main entrance, along with their teammates who chose to stay. There were no goodbyes, only a silence so heavy it hurt, as if everyone already knew. This would be their last parting. If you make it to the central outpost, deliver our report, Altair said flatly. No one replied, just a few solemn nods. The soldiers began descending the hill, passing through ruins and dead trees. The fog gradually swallowed them. 10 minutes passed. 10 long, silent minutes. Sophia closed her eyes, whispering a prayer even though she knew Tyrant would not stay quiet. Then the ground trembled. Suddenly, violently, the sound of bones slamming into the earth echoed, followed by a scream, short and harrowing. Everyone in the building rushed out, looking out the window. What they saw froze them in place. Tyrant stood in the middle of the road, his massive body drenched in blood. Several corpses lay mangled, unrecognizable. One soldier fired a rifle, but his arm was torn off like paper. Tyrant wasn't angry. He didn't roar. He simply destroyed. Like a god of death emerging from the fog, Tyrant decimated the soldiers without a shred of mercy. There was no chance to flee, no time to form ranks. It was over in seconds. One tried to run back to the building, his body already covered in wounds. But before he got halfway, Tyrant drove his long arm through the man's chest and hurled him into a tree. His body crumpled like a rag doll. Then, Tyrant stopped. He turned to look up the hill, where Sophia, Altair, and their team stood. His glowing red eyes mocked them. Then he turned and disappeared into the mist. No one chased him. No one spoke. Silence. They stood frozen, breath caught in their throats. Rena covered her mouth to hold back sobs. Vivi clutched her weapon tighter. Victor turned away, unable to look. Sophia closed her eyes, trying to calm her racing heart. He waited for them to leave, Altair muttered finally. He knew they'd go. And he knew we'd watch. As if he's saying, this is what happens when you defy human survival instinct, Sophia added quietly. There was no more doubt. Tyrant wasn't just some mindless mutant. He was a predator who enjoyed the game. And they had just witnessed the clearest proof that their enemy was far smarter than they had ever imagined. Chapter 34. Hope severed, resolve remains. Morning began with thick tension. Even the air felt heavy inside the rundown building. The remaining team members sat around a folding table now covered with maps, supply notes, and a list of those still alive. Only remaining team members Sophia and Altair. There, no team member from military. Altair stood in the corner of the room, clutching the communication device with an unreadable expression. He had been trying to reach HQ for the past 2 hours. His voice had once sounded loud, angry, disappointed, even near despair. But now, only silence remained. The screen of the device showed static before finally going dark. Sorry, but Central Command cannot provide further support. All troops are being pulled back to defend the primary zones. You're on your own until the situation changes, came the last message from Command. Altair stared at the device in silence. His eyes didn't blink, his jaw clenched. Then, with a swift motion, he hurled the device at the wall. Crash! It shattered into pieces, the sound echoing sharply through the room. No one spoke. A few glanced over instinctively, but no one dared say a word. They had suspected the answer, but hearing it directly still hurt. Altair took a deep breath and lowered his head for a moment to calm himself. When he turned back, his face was composed, though his eyes still burned with unquenched anger. He looked at them all and slowly shook his head. No backup. They don't see us as a priority. Sophia rose from her seat, trying to keep the frustration out of her voice. Of course not. They're afraid of losing more troops just to save us. Humans always give up quickly when numbers are involved. Altair approached the table, placing both hands on the map. Today's our last day for supplies. We're almost out of water, and there's only enough food for tonight's dinner. Tomorrow, we move out, whether we like it or not. Victor, a member of Team Raijin, gave a slow nod. We know there are 2 nearby supply caches, but both are in open areas. There's a high chance Tyrant is watching them. Sophia pointed to one area on the map near the ruins of a market. But this one was used as an early aid distribution site. There might still be leftovers. Rena from Sophia's team added, "If we split into 2 teams, our survival odds improve, but the risk goes up too." Altair nodded. "Which is why everything has to be set tonight. No mistakes. We're down to 16 people, and every single life is worth more than gold." That night, no one slept. Everyone got involved in planning, from rotating guard shifts, exit and entry routes, to even who would act as bait if necessary. Every detail was accounted for. Sophia drafted small-scale combat formations based on each member's magic capabilities. Meanwhile, Altair drilled the team in ambush response scenarios. Despite their fatigue and stress, a shared determination began to form. "We may have been abandoned by command," Sophia said as she handed out water to everyone, "but we're not alone." "As long as we trust one another," Altair added, "we're not just survivors. We're a threat to anyone who dares to hunt us." Their comrades nodded. A spark lit up in eyes that had once gone dull. It wasn't the same confidence they had when they first set out, but it was stronger. Because now, they were no longer just soldiers. They were the last remnants of hope, and tomorrow they would move. Chapter 35. As long as breath remains. That morning, though the sky hung overcast as if hiding something, the 16 survivors stood in silence. Their faces still showed the exhaustion of a sleepless night, but their eyes were steady. Their resolve had been made. "Everyone knows their job," Altair said, standing by the door of the building they had occupied for the past 3 days. "Team A comes with me northwest to the old supermarket supply depot. Team B goes with Sophia to the former aid distribution site." Sophia added, "No fighting unless absolutely necessary. Our top priority is food and water. I'll say it again. No recklessness." There were no objections. Everyone understood what was at stake. The teams split without a word. Each slipped out through the pre-planned routes from the night before. Their movements were swift and efficient, the result of drills under intense pressure. Strangely, everything went too smoothly. "This is weird," Rena muttered as she looked up at the gloomy sky. Sophia nodded, eyes sweeping cautiously around them. Too quiet. But the silence gave them time. While much of the food was spoiled or ruined by age, they managed to gather a decent amount of canned goods and some medicine from the old depot. More importantly, they were lucky enough to find a stockpile of sealed clean water, a rare blessing in terrain like this. By late afternoon, both teams returned to the rendezvous point safely. No casualties, no injuries, just disbelief and unease. "Too smooth," Altair said, as everyone gathered in the new temporary base. "Too easy." They didn't have to wait long for the answer. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, a thunderous sound echoed from the east. Then the ground began to shake. A familiar roar filled the air, a sound that made their skin crawl. Tyrant, he had arrived, finally. Instantly, everyone was on high alert. But this time, it was different. Tyrant appeared slowly, emerging from the ruins with heavy, unhurried steps, like a beast that knew its prey had no more escape routes. Then all hell broke loose. Explosions, screams, the clash of weapons and magic filled the air. Tyrant struck brutally, but there was something strange. He was holding back. He didn't kill outright. He injured, tore, hurled, like a predator toying with its prey. Sophia unleashed wave after wave of light magic, trying to interrupt his movements, while Altair and two others fought him up close, diverting his attention. Injuries began piling up, broken bones, burns, deep bruises. But no one died. "He's holding back?" Victor shouted amidst the chaos. "Why isn't he finishing us off?" "Because he's playing with us," Sophia yelled, shielding herself from another blow with a wall of light. "He's enjoying this." After nearly 20 minutes of battle, with almost everyone severely wounded, Tyrant stopped. He stood tall, staring at them with a blank gaze that still bore overwhelming pressure. Then, he turned around and left without a word. No one chased. No one spoke. Only ragged breaths and muffled groans filled the air. They sat, lay, leaned, tending wounds however they could. They were still alive. But the cost, physically and mentally, was immense. The days that followed turned into a cycle of hell. Every day they had to relocate. Base after base was torn apart. Tyrant always reappeared just when they began to feel a sliver of safety. He would arrive, wound, and leave. Never killing, but leaving enough pain to ensure they'd never forget the fear. Their nights were haunted by nightmares. Mornings were spent fleeing. Afternoons filled with battles or desperate searches for shelter. And every evening ended with one question: will we still be alive tomorrow? The team's morale began to waver, yet they endured. With mounting injuries, dwindling strength, and hope slipping through their fingers, only one thing kept them standing. They refused to die like this. Not by the hands of a monster toying with their fear, not in this cursed place. And in the middle of all the chaos, they knew someone had to end this, or they would be slowly destroyed. Chapter 36. Chapter 36. The ending they chose themselves. A week. It had been a week they'd lived in a cycle of despair, hunted, attacked, toyed with. Every time they felt safe, Tyrant came. Every time a wound healed, another appeared. Every shelter fell, and their numbers continued to dwindle. But this morning was different. There were no discussions, no strategy meetings, not even a check on remaining supplies. They all knew today would be the final day. Not because of orders from HQ, nor due to logistics or tactics, but because their hearts had reached their limits. Disgust, anger, devastation, and frustration had merged into one desire stronger than fear: to fight. "This is our end," Altair muttered, glancing around. His teammates' faces were full of wounds and fatigue, but their eyes burned bright. Or the beginning of Tyrant's end. No one replied, but their steps were firm, and as expected, Tyrant came. He emerged from behind the ruins, walking slowly but surely, carrying an oppressive aura like a heavenly beast descending from hell. His gigantic body was marked with old wounds, yet not a single one seemed to weaken him. His roar shook the air. Without a signal, the battle began. The Zeppanier team charged without hesitation. Yuna began with an ice grenade, exploding at Tyrant's feet, creating a freezing fog that obscured vision. Camille followed, firing an armor-piercing round from his anti-materiel rifle. Clang! A massive hand caught the bullet mid-air. Camille's eyes widened. "What?" Tyrant immediately threw the bullet back with tremendous force. It pierced through Camille's chest like a spear. Blood sprayed. Camille collapsed. He didn't get back up. "Come!" Ah, Yuna screamed before her cry was cut short by a single swing of Tyrant's arm, launching her through two concrete walls. Her bones cracked loud enough to reach Sophia's ears. Yuna! Sophia screamed, her face twisted in rage and fear. But there was no time to grieve. Tyrant moved faster than before. Two other Raijin members tried to distract him with flash bombs and fire magic, but they were too close. One slammed to the ground. Shockwaves swept them away. Bones scattered, flesh torn. What remained of Team Raijin were just three: Altair, Yuki, and Reika. All stood bloodied, yet still unyielding. "Don't! Stop!" Altair shouted hoarsely. Sophia's team moved from another angle, trying to flank him. Sophia attacked with her glowing spear, aiming for Tyrant's neck. Others fired magical bullets and spells to create an opening. But none truly hurt the beast. Tyrant spun and kicked one of Sophia's teammates into a broken street lamp. A sickening crash, followed by a limp body falling. Still alive, but unconscious. One by one, they fell, either thrown, crushed by rubble, or severely wounded. Blood flowed everywhere. Breathing grew heavy. The sounds of spells and gunfire faded. Eventually, only Sophia remained at the front. Spear in hand, wounds covering her body, she faced Tyrant, who now walked slowly toward her like an executioner. Damn it," she whispered, blood dripping from her mouth. She forced herself forward, then broke into a run, more out of desperation than strength. With a frustrated scream, she drove her spear at Tyrant's chest. A burst of light erupted from the spear's tip, but it was too late. Tyrant had already raised his hand. Sophia knew she couldn't dodge. Her hand trembled, her eyes closed. In her mind, a single sentence echoed. "Is this my end?" But the blow never came. Boom! A thunderous crash shook the air. Wind slammed into her face. Dust burst into the sky. The ruins trembled. When Sophia opened her eyes, she froze. Tyrant, the terrifying monster that had hunted and toyed with them, had been flung far back, smashing through 3 buildings at once, and in front of her stood a girl. Her hair was jet black, long and flowing like shadows in the night. Her eyes were dark crimson, like a frozen hell. She wore an elegant black gown that fluttered softly in the breeze. Her expression was blank, showing neither rage or pity, only pure calm. The aura around her was suffocating. Breathing seemed to stop. Time itself seemed to freeze. And Sophia was speechless. For some reason, her body trembled, but not from fear. It was from hope, a hope long lost, now returned. "You?" Sophia whispered, barely audible. But the girl only glanced sideways. Her dark eyes seemed to pierce straight into the soul. With slow steps, she approached the recovering Tyrant. The air trembled again. Each small step from the girl felt heavier than the march of all the fallen soldiers. Chapter 37. The Hunt on the Brink. The evening sky hung over the forest like a blood-red curtain torn by time. Fallen leaves couldn't mask the stench of death clinging to the air. In the midst of the rotting, silent wilderness, a lone figure moved swiftly, like a shadow that refused to be acknowledged by light. She was Sylvia. And at this very moment, she was hunting. "Level 21, she whispered, eyes fixed on the corpse of a gorilla-like mutant lying before her. Her claws, black, long, and sharp like divine blades, still dripped with the creature's blood. In her deep red eyes reflected her own image, a being between life and death, who kept climbing and climbing and climbing. The mutant animals of the forest had become nothing more than fodder for her EXP. A three-eyed dog, a metal-antlered deer, even a 12-meter-long snake that devoured the undead, all had fallen to her within minutes. Nothing could match her speed. Nothing could withstand the void-infused slashes of her claws. Her level climbed rapidly. In the first 3 days, she had already reached level 25. But like a curse, the higher she rose, the rarer her prey became. Were they hiding, or had the forest itself begun to fear her? Day 4. Silence. No tracks. No scent of blood. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Sylvia stood atop a tall branch. She looked down and murmured, "I can't wait." She stepped into the air. Void steps. Her body vanished, swallowed by empty space, only to reappear 30 meters away on another branch. Then again, and again. Every time she activated the step, the world felt frozen. The air itself was drawn into the void. And finally, in an untouched part of the forest, its northwest, where thorny plants grew thick and black swamps festered, she found them. A two-headed mutant bear. Level 2. Its body rivaled a military truck in size, with claws that could rip steel and venomous fangs that melted flesh. But Sylvia only gave a thin smile. Perfect! She leapt down from the tree. Before the bear could even grunt, Sylvia's black claws had already slashed out one of its eyes. The beast roared. Its counterattack came fast. 2 massive paws sweeping the earth, gouging deep trenches. But Sylvia was gone again. Void step. Suddenly, she appeared on its back, slashing until the creature's spine showed. Thick blood sprayed everywhere like a storm of death. The bear rolled wildly, trying to crush her. But Sylvia gave it no chance. One claw slashed at the neck of the right head. Crack! The head dropped with a thud, and the body trembled. The remaining head screamed, snapping its jaws, but missed. Sylvia jumped back to create distance. Her eyes glinted. Now. Shadow piercing. Ding! Level up. 28. She exhaled, eyes on her left hand that now trembled. Not from exhaustion, but from time. Only 2 days remained. Day 6. Only 24 hours left, and Sylvia was still at level 29. Just one more level until rank 3. But the mutant animals had nearly gone extinct in her hunting grounds. The smell of blood and rot was too strong, terrifying even the wildest creatures. Sylvia sat at the base of a tree and closed her eyes. Still, not enough. There was no panic in her voice, only frustration. She knew if she failed, evolution would be delayed. And the chain of abyss, a weapon perfectly suited for her, would be lost forever. She clenched her fist. No, I won't fail, just because these beasts are hiding. Void steps once again activated her body, propelling her like a black flash toward the southeast. Each step devoured distance, the sounds of the forest fading behind her. And within her heart, a single thought flowed quietly. Chapter 38. Chapter 38. Wriggling roots, rampaging branches. The sky had turned a dusky purple as Sylvia set foot in the southwestern region of the forest. The towering shadows of trees reached toward the heavens like giant hands clawing the sky. She moved swiftly, her footsteps nearly silent, as shadow piercing carried her from tree to tree, but her steps halted. Standing before her was a tree, or rather, something that looked like a tree. It towered over all others, its trunk as wide as a small house, and its bark was etched with twisted patterns resembling faces frozen in agony. In the center of the trunk was a crack shaped like a closed eye. Sylvia narrowed her eyes. "What is this?" Curiosity moved her forward, but as soon as her foot stepped near the tree's roots, crack! Long branches lashed toward her like thorned whips. Sylvia barely dodged, her body moving before her mind could react. With extraordinary reflexes, she ducked, rolled, then leapt behind a nearby tree. An ambush! From behind cover, her dark red eyes glowed as she activated her skill. Appraisal. Ancient Treant. Rank 3. Treant, huh? Sylvia muttered, unfazed. If gods, demons, and legendary beasts could exist, then a creature like this was only to be expected. She tightened her grip. Her claws glowed darkly. If you attack first, don't blame me. Shadow piercing. Sylvia's claws elongated, cloaked in dense black aura. In an instant, she appeared before the massive trunk and slashed. Crack! The treant's bark tore deeply. Thick green sap dripped like the blood of plants. A low rumble echoed from within the trunk, and the eye-shaped crack opened and stared at Sylvia. Roots erupted from the earth, trying to ensnare her. Sylvia leapt into the air, twisting midair and slicing the pursuing branch. In one slash, it split in two. She landed, then dashed forward, bombarding the trunk with a flurry of claw strikes. Shrack! Crack! Shrack! The sound of wood echoed through the forest. Each attack drew blood, and Sylvia smiled, slightly smug. You're strong, but you're slow. Your attacks, I could dance through them. The treant roared. Its branches whipped wildly, attacking everything near me. But Sylvia was like the wind, darting, leaping, evading, countering. Her body flickered like a shadow untouchable. But that was when she let her guard down. Boom! Something shot out from the treant's trunk, seeds the size of baseballs, hurled at breakneck speed. Dwah! One struck Sylvia in the gut, another pierced her thigh, two more hit her shoulder and left chest. Black blood spurted from her body. She was flung back, crashing into a tree hard enough to crack its trunk. Her HP dropped drastically. 21,600. She coughed. Blood dripped from her lips. Stupid, she hissed, clutching at the pain that rattled her body. Just because I leveled up once, I thought I was a queen. She rose slowly. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were calm now. All right, Treant, let's get serious. The battle flared again. The forest rang with the sounds of combat. Ting! Clang! Crash! Sylvia deflected the deadly seeds with her claws. Each slash sparked. One missed and shattered a massive boulder behind her. But she pressed forward, step by step. Yet every time she prepared a heavy attack, the seeds forced her back. She frowned. Why? Why is its HP still dropping? Her eyes glowed again as she activated appraisal. Ancient Treant. Rank AEP. 27,400. 38,000. Status. Infected with deadly poison. My claws are poisoned. Her smile returned, thin and cruel. She changed tactics. Instead of trying to cut or destroy, her attacks now merely scratched. Like painting in wood, she left shallow wounds all over its trunk and roots. The treant roared. Its branches attacked faster, but Sylvia danced among them, constantly slashing, slicing, infecting. And finally, the treant trembled violently. Its trunk began rotting from within. Leaves fell, roots tore from the ground, then went limp. Crack! The tree collapsed, crashing to the ground with a thunderous silence. Ding! Level up, 30. 30. Quest complete. Reward. Granted. Chain of Abyss. Weapon. Class. Living weapon. Evolution options available. Sylvia took a deep breath, blood still dripping from her body. But her smile was satisfied. Something caught her eye among the remains of the trunk. A glowing red crystal nestled near the heart of the tree. Sylvia approached it with a passion like hunger, then without hesitation, swallowed it. Ding! Wood element. Acquired. Element incompatible. Recalibrating. Ding! Element wood has become netherwood. Sylvia finally came to her senses when she received a notification from the system. Huh? Netherwood element? And why did I feel like I lost control earlier? Like I had to devour that red crystal? Whatever. Maybe it was just my instincts. But as the pain from her wounds faded, Sylvia regained her composure. She opened her status window. Status. Name. Sylvia Hortensia. Race. Noctera. Rank 2. Evolved zombie. Element. Death. Netherwood. Level. 30. Stats. HP. 21,600. 21,600. MP. 0. Ester. 2,540. Vite. 21,600. Inti. 120. AGE. 600. Lukya. Error. Active skills. Infectious bite. 920. Razor. Toxic claw. 27-40. Shadow piercing. 1840. Void steps. 410. Appraisal. 110. Spell. Gravebind. Forbidden death. Spell. Rank 4. 1,500 entity. My passive skills. Killing stroke. +3. Ta AGI. Kill max. 10 stacks. High. HP regeneration. 20-40. Restores 60-50 HP per second. Toxic affinity. Nerve. Bleeding. Corrosive. Blood instinct. 5 stat boost for 10 sec. Max 5 stacks. Titles. Reincarnated. First evolution. Second evolution. Blessing from Goddess Life and Death. Persephone. At the bottom. Max level reached. Evolution required. Chapter 39. Chapter 39. On the brink of evolution, the choice and Mortessa's awakening. Max level reached. Evolution required. Mortessa. Special high. Zombie. STR and VIT X2. AGI X4. INT X5. MP 5,000. Morgul. High rank ghoul. STR and VIT X5. AGI and INT X2. MP plus thousands on bloodling. Mid-rank. Vampire. STR and VIT X3. AGI and INT X4. Plus 10,000 said. Vampire. Sylvia muttered softly, stroking her chin. Looks tempting. Tons of MP and INT, perfect for spell casting. But she scrolled back up to the top option. Mortessa. The continuation of Noctura, also a special class. STR and VI may not be as high as Morgul, but AGI and INT jump way higher, and 5000 MP. Enough for multiple spells. She sighed. Ugh, tough choice. Her hand slowly reached for a small vial filled with a glowing, purplish liquid. She had obtained it from Seamerk's inheritance chamber days ago, a unique item called the Zombie Core Essence. Without hesitation, Sylvia popped the cap and drank the liquid. The metallic, cold taste of stale blood washed over her tongue, but her body absorbed it like a sponge. Ding! Zombie Core consumed. All stats permanently increased by 15%. She opened her status again, narrowing her eyes at the massive jump in numbers. Her HP now exceeded 24,000, and her STR and AGI had skyrocketed. The dark aura surrounding her body grew thicker, swirling like a mist that danced with her emotions. All right, I need a safe place before I decide, she said. Her steps carried her deeper into the forest until her sharp eyes caught sight of a small cave hidden behind rocks and the roots of a massive tree. Without delay, Sylvia slipped inside and struck the cave's entrance with her fist, causing large stones to fall and block the mouth of the cave shut. Silence. The air inside was damp and cold, but she felt comfortable. It was the perfect place to seal herself away and change. Okay, she whispered, sitting cross-legged in the center of the cave. Choose evolution. Mortessa. Confirm. With a serious expression, her finger tapped the empty air, confirming her choice. Ding. Evolution initiated. Sylvia's consciousness began to drift. Her breathing slowed as if her body were sinking into black sludge. The cave's temperature dropped dramatically, and the presence of death began to seep from her skin. Death aura flowed from her pores, forming intricate patterns in the air that glowed with a deep crimson hue. Between dreams and awareness, Sylvia found herself standing in a dark field littered with bones, like autumn flowers. There, the figure of the goddess Persephone appeared again, this time with a faint smile. You're getting more powerful, Sylvia. Your body is no longer just a normal undead, but the bearer of death's own will. Continue this path, and you will shake the world. And then the world collapsed. Sylvia's body convulsed as black blood oozed from her pores, only to be reabsorbed like roots searching for the earth. Her bones elongated, her form becoming more elegant and proportionate. Her hair grew longer, completely black, shimmering like dew-soaked midnight. Her skin paled, glowing faintly with a dim radiance. The tattered dress she once wore burned slowly away, replaced by a regal black gown grown from her own blood. Dress of death, an evolved form of her blood dress. Dark chains extended from her arms, living chains, pulsating, breathing, and radiating intent. A weapon, a being, and a part of her. After an uncertain passage of time, Sylvia opened her eyes. Ding! Evolution successful. Congratulations, you are now Mortessa. She stood slowly, feeling her new body, light, fast, and brimming with deadly power. Status. Name, Sylvia Hortensia. Race, C. Mortessa. Rank 3. Special High Zombie. Element, Eth, the Netherwood. Level, 150. Stats. HP, 48,960. 48,960. Tai, 5,000. 5,000. STR, 5,852. BKG, 48,960. Intate 600. AGI 2400. Luke Key. Error. Active skills. Infectious bite 920. Eraser toxic claw 2740. Shadow piercing 1840. Appraisal 1. Spells. Gravebind. Forbidden death spell. Rank 4. 1500. Nether branches. Netherwood spell. Rank 2. 100. P branch. Summons. Nether branches for AoE or crowd control. Void steps. 410. Void spell. Rank fee. 2500 RMP. 5. Passive skills. Killing stroke. +5. AGI. Per kill. Maxed 10 stacks. High HP. Regeneration. 20s 40. Heals 1000. HP. Second. Low. MP. Regeneration. 1 and heals 100. MP. Minute. Toxic affinity. Nerve. Bleeding. Corrosive. Wither. New. Blood. Instinct. +5% to all stats for 10 seconds. Stack. Max 5 stack. Equipment. Dress of death. Increases. Death magic effects and physical resistance. Chains of Abyss. Living weapon. Used for attack or crowd control. Reacts to user's intent. Titles. Reincarnated. First evolution. Second evolution. Third evolution. Blessing from the goddess of life and death, Persephone. Sylvia let out a long breath, a faint smile curling on her lips. So this is my new form, Mortessa. She clenched her fists, and the black chains coiled around her let out a soft clatter, as if welcoming her. So powerful. But who was that voice just now? Was it Goddess Persephone? I'll find out eventually. She raised one hand into the air. From the cave floor, black branches sprouted, sharp and trembling like hungry roots. Void Steps is now a spell with clear range info. And my equipment is finally listed properly. Good. Looks like it's time to leave this forest. Without further delay, she activated Void Steps, teleporting 5 kilometers purely on instinct. She repeated the process several times, pausing between jumps to recover her MP. Until at last, she arrived at a town. From afar, her eyes caught a massive figure, around 3 or 4 meters tall, with a heavily muscled body. An object that's perfect to test my strength after evolving. Without a second thought, Sylvia cast Shadow Piercing, launching herself at the figure with full force. The giant body was sent flying, smashing through 3 buildings in a row. But just then, Sylvia realized there were others here. One of them she recognized. That golden hair. There was no mistake. That girl from the military she despised. Sylvia blinked in surprise but only glanced briefly at her. Her focus was now locked on the massive creature she had just thrown. The battle was about to begin. Chapter 40. Chapter 40. Chains, your fists, and the queens. The ruins of the 3 collapsed buildings seemed like a temporary coffin for the massive creature. Dust still danced in the air as the ground trembled slightly, a sign that the monster wasn't dead yet. From within the dust, the figure slowly stood. A towering body, over 3 meters tall, with steel-hard muscles and grayish skin marked by burn scars and gashes. The remnants of rage flickered in its blood-red eyes. Its jaw clenched tight, and its growl echoed like thunder in the night sky. The tyrant. He stared at Sylvia, the small creature who had just thrown him like a doll. His eyes flared red, his jaw locked, and both fists clenched so tightly that his bones cracked. His breath was heavy, as if his lungs were filled with lava. Then he charged, like a bull gone berserk. Swoosh! His right hand flew with tremendous speed, tearing through the air. A small sonic boom followed as his punch broke the sound barrier. Bang! The punch struck the ground, creating a massive crater on the asphalt where Sylvia had stood just a second earlier. But she was no longer there, floating backward with a light motion like a dancing black wind. I can even clearly see the path of your fist, Sylvia smirking with mocking amusement. The tyrant roared and launched a flurry of punches at Sylvia. Bang! Swoosh! Bam! Swoosh! The ground quaked, the road split, and booming impacts shook the buildings around them. But none of the blows touched Sylvia's body. She moved like a dark shadow, light-footed, fluid-shouldered, and cold-eyed. Each missed strike only made the tyrant angrier, like a beast spiraling out of control. Sylvia said nothing. She just stared with her deep red eyes, the corners of her mouth raised arrogantly. And in the next moment, a fierce kick struck the tyrant's abdomen. Sylvia kicked at high speed, empowered by her newly evolved Mortessa form. The kick pierced through the thick flesh and sent the monster flying dozens of meters, crashing into a building and demolishing half of its floors. Dust and rubble buried him for a moment, but Sylvia knew it wasn't over. And sure enough, the tyrant rose again. His breath was uneven, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. But he could still stand. His body now appeared even darker, as if he had unleashed his strength for one final stand. He charged once more, and this time Sylvia didn't dodge. She raised her own fist. Two monsters, one with raw power, the other with deadly control and speed, clashed in midair. Boom! A sonic explosion tore through the air as their fists collided. Shockwaves rippled through the street. Cars were flung, windows shattered, and nearby buildings cracked like thin ice. They exchanged blow after blow. Bang! Bang! Bam! The tyrant struck with brute force, but Sylvia countered with precision. Her movements were like a deathly dancer, each punch smashing into joints, bones, and weak points, with cruel intent. With every clash, the tyrant's bones began to break. Crack! His left arm snapped. Bam! His ribs shattered. Sylvia snapped her fingers, and the chains of abyss slithered out from beneath the sleeves of her gown like hungry shadow serpents. The living black chains moved as if they knew their master's intent. The tip of the chain, blood-red and spear-like, gleamed. Schlack! The first chain pierced the tyrant's calf, bringing him to his knees with a howl. But it didn't end there. Schrack! A second chain emerged from behind Sylvia, weaving through the air and stabbing into the tyrant's shoulder, smashing through bone and leaving a scorched wound. Shrack! 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 3, 4, 5 chains emerged at once. They danced in the air, piercing his gut, chest, arms. And finally, one chain drilled straight through the tyrant's skull. The tyrant went still. His feral aura vanished. Sylvia tugged on a chain and pulled out a glowing red crystal from inside his head. Its color resembled fire. Looks like the one from that tree. But, she murmured and licked the red crystal. Not interesting. And kinda gross. She glanced to the right, realizing she wasn't alone. Apparently that girl and a few others had been caught in the aftershock of the battle. There she was, slumped and ragged. Her golden hair was disheveled, her clothes torn and bloodied, her face exhausted, but her eyes still sparkled, because she was alive. Sylvia only stared for a moment, then tossed the red crystal at her feet. Then she turned around and walked away, elegantly, the black chains around her slowly retracting beneath her sleeves. That battle lasted only 5 minutes, but the whole city knew the nightmare had passed. POV Sophia. Sophia could only remain silent, her legs and body too weak to stand, and her eyes fixed on the back of the figure who had saved her. She knew. It was the Queen. Even without words, she knew. Her hand slowly reached for the red crystal, still warm, still pulsing, as if it carried the power of the giant just defeated. Then she rose unsteadily. Despite her wounds, she moved, because she knew the others needed help. Time passed. As the sun began to set, only 7 people remained from both teams. Team Raijin, Altair, and Yuki. Team Sophia, Victor, Rena, Yuna, and Vivi. Dito and Camille had perished. After tending to their wounds as best they could, Victor found a still-functioning vehicle. In silence and grief, they returned to base. Upon arrival, they were met with confused and fearful stares. Those who had once refused to help now lowered their heads, seeing them return battered yet alive. They entered the command room, and Reinhardt's gaze locked onto them. Before any question could be asked, Sophia tossed the red crystal toward him. "Queen's help," she said softly, and Altair threw the tiny camera from his vest without a word. And without saying another thing, they left, leaving Reinhardt frozen in place, his pupils shrinking at the mention of that name. POV Sylvia. Atop a tall building, Sylvia sat alone. Her eyes gazed at the rank 0 zombies, wandering below like ants. She was sitting in front of a small fire pit she had made. Then she pulled out her chains and skewered a bird she had randomly caught earlier. She wanted to try eating. Perhaps it had been a while since she last did. The chain moved as she imagined, turning the bird meat to cook evenly. Once she felt it was done, she blew on it and took a bite, but tasted nothing. Bland. No salt, no umami, no fishiness, nothing. She sighed. The dark aura around her body stirred subtly without her realizing. Damn! Was it my cooking, or do zombies just not have taste buds? She grumbled. She looked up at the night sky, now growing overcast. Well, maybe I should try adding salt next time.